So bring your attention to the room here and now. And leave your responsibilities aside. Acknowledge of yourself here and now. Awareness of your sitting body. And you may take a few long deep breaths to feel the presenceness of yourself here. And just let it be. And since we've been practicing on the breathing meditations, I will invite you to focus on the breath and noticing the breath, incoming breath and outgoing breath. And based on how skillful you have become, so working with that. If your mind is still wandering and restless, unable to focus on the breath, then you may start with counting the breath, either slowly or in a speedy way. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 1, 2, 2, like that. So intentionally you're paying attention to all the breath to gain the concentration. That's the one way of practicing. When you're practicing in this way, deliberately you are disconnecting from all the distraction, and with your own intention, you have distracted your mind from others to the breath. So intentionally you're working with the breath. And a second way of a practice is, rather than putting your intention to divert your attention and be with the breath, allowing breath to appear and you're just standing and watching that breath. In a way, inviting breath to be, existence, and you're aware. And at this stage, if you are just standing and inviting the breath to appear, at this moment, you may have recognized the core or the foundation. It's called the sign, a place that you settled yourself, and observing this breath coming in and going out. and recognizing a long breath or a short breath without interfering to make it longer or shorter. And when you're inviting breath to appear in this way, oftentimes you can work with the sound of the breath, hearing the sound as it comes and goes. And not only working with the sound of the breath, you also can work with the feeling of the breath in that particular area of the focus attention. Let's say it's in your nose. So feeling the sensations around. Now, if you've been practicing regularly and diligently, and you may notice that there's a nimitta or this sign, the area where you are standing and observing this breath coming in and going out, becomes much easier to be with that. And when mind is distracted, simply acknowledging, observing, acknowledging, noting, and let go and back to this space again. So continue practicing. Idha bhikkhu aranyagato va rukkhamulakato va sunyākārakato va nisidati pallankang abhujitava ujjungkāyang panidhāya parimukhang sating upathapetava so satova atsasati satova patsasati dīghang va hatsasanto dīghang atsasamiti pachanati dīghang va patsasanto dīghang patsasamiti pachanati rasang va asasanto rasang asasamiti pachanati rasang va patsasanto rasang patsasamiti pachanati sabba kaya pati sangvedhi asase samiti sikkhati sabba kaya pati sangvedhi pasase samiti sikkhati pasang bhayang kaya sankharang asase samiti sikkhati pasang bhayang kaya sankharang pasase samiti sikkhati pīti pati sangvedhi asase samiti sikkhati pīti pati sangvedhi pasase samiti sikkhati sukha pati sangvedhi asase samiti sikkhati sukha pati sangvedhi pasase samiti sikkhati citta sankhara pati sangvedhi asase samiti sikkhati Citta sankhara pati sanghvedhi Pasasissamiti sikkati Pasang bhayang citta sankharang Asasissamiti sikkati Pasang bhayang citta sankharang Pasasissamiti sikkati Citta pati sanghvedhi Asasissamiti sikkati Citta pati sanghvedhi Pasasissamiti sikkati Abhipamodayang cittang Asasissamiti sikkati Abhipamodayang cittang Pasasissamiti sikkati Samadahang cittang Asasissamiti sikkati Samadahang cittang Pasasissamiti sikkati Vimochayang cittang Asasissamiti sikkati Vimochayang cittang Pasasissamiti sikkati Aniccanupassi Asasissamiti sikkati Aniccanupassi Pasasissamiti sikkati Virakhanupassi Asasissamiti sikkati Virakhanupassi Pasasissamiti sikkati Nirodhanupassi Asasissamiti sikkati Nirodhanupassi Pasasissamiti sikkati Patinissagghanupassi Asasissamiti sikkati Patinissagghanupassi Pasasissamiti sikkati. So the translation you can read. Basically, the first passage is about going into the woods and practicing, sitting down and practicing the breathing meditation. And the first four treatises, that is contemplating on the bodily contemplation. And that we have covered it previously. So although we have covered it, before moving into the next chapter, which is the 5 to 8, that is the section called the Vedananupasana, or the section is related to the feelings. So the first one is related to the body, and the second one is related to the feelings. So these four are about the feeling contemplation. So before going into that feeling, here we have to remember quite a few things in the fourth one, number 4 of the first one, or the last one of the fourth practice. Before I explain to that, I want to ask you a question so that I can explain where you are at, and how can I explain this number 6th one, number 5th one, and number 5 and number 6. Actually, it comes together. Okay. Now, when you're practicing your breathing meditation, where do you feel that breath? Where you concentrate the breath? So if you have to think, that means you need to practice.
Nostrils.
Nose and chest.
Uh-huh. Sorry?
Just on the nostrils.
Nostrils. And then when you're practicing, let's say now, so we have to pinpoint just the one place. That's called a nimitta, or the sign. So ability to establish your attention on one object now. So one specific place. That is, whether you open your eyes or whether you close your eyes, whether you're working or whether you're whatever you're doing. The moment when your mind is not working with certain activities, your mind is able to come back without forcing. Automatically you know that, okay, mind needs to come back here. rather than lost into other thoughts. Suppose you're doing something, and then after you finish that, or in between you're doing that, suddenly mind goes to think something else. So rather than going to think something else, your mind's supposed to be coming back to the breath first, which is called the nimitta, or the sign. Right? So that's why it's called a foundation. That's why this is where we're practicing through this Anapanasati. Now this is the time to familiarize now. Whereas before, the practice that I was teaching, straight away you have to familiarize the primary object. And now here you have to familiarize the primary object. And here the primary object is the sign, nimitta. So that's why I asked. If you haven't practiced properly, or you haven't practiced regularly, then you're just wandering all around, and you haven't developed that nimitta, or that sign yet. And when you haven't developed that sign, then what happens that your mind is not settled yet. So as a result of that, you may not be able to experience some form of a joy and rapture. You're just struggling. You try to find out. You try to set up yourself. Try to gain the calmness. Try to gain the concentration, free from all other distractions. So you're just trying hard, but going nowhere. And as a result, you cannot feel the joy and rapture in the practice. That's simply because the mind hasn't established or hasn't adopted one sign yet. But once you have adopted or familiarized with this object, then the rest of other things begins now. So if you remember now I have to go back, to come back to this, the fifth one, the piti patisangvedi, asasisami and pasasisami, which means he trains himself to breathe in sensitive to rapture and to breathe out sensitive to rapture. Right? So this one, before coming into that one. Right? So, okay. Previously, I mentioned that you may remember what are the things that forms formation, sankhara. You remember sankhara? What are the things that forms the body? Then the breath. Yeah? I mentioned about the different types of a food to sustain and to develop and to form this physical body. And in the meantime, at least of the main elements needed to form the breath, right? And then within that again, breath and the body, in order to maintain and sustain each and interrelated, both are causing to form either of one, either of these, breath and the body, like that. And in that process, what's happening here, that we cannot attain we cannot develop this sign is simply because there are 4 factors involved. Right? And that 4 factors, that's called hindrances. So you may have come across, right? So they're called nivaranas, hindrances. And that hindrances are, number 1, who remember? Kama chanda, which means the sensual pleasure. So sensual pleasure is one of the dominant cause that hinders our practice, and we cannot develop. So it's like, rather than sitting, meditate, why I'm sitting here? I'm getting nowhere. If I listen, the guided meditation would make much different probably. So that's another thought of wanting. Or rather than sitting, I could have watched the telly, watch the movie, so that I can have a relaxed mind. I would be relaxing myself. So that sort of thing. So that's what the first one is, the sensual pleasure. So that sensual pleasure normally takes us away from the practice, and unable to focus on, unable to practice. And as a result of that, our mind is so disturbed, always going into, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I should have done this, I should have done that. No, goes on. Right? So this hindrances, again, it's a very a long story. If you are interested, I have made this on the video, and I have given a talk during the COVID-19 only on the hindrances on YouTube. It's available as well. You can go and listen that one too. So the hindrances are the negative part of the progress in the practice of a meditation that hinders our progress. Okay, the number one is essential pleasure. What is the number two? Uddacca kukkucca. Okay, what does it mean?
English.
Huh?
Doubts and
Sloth and torpor.
Sloth and torpor.
Sorry, uddacca kukkucca.
This is the, I think it's a doubt and
No, doubt is vichikicca.
vicikicca. Oh, that's a good picture.
What are they? Number one, kamachanda. Number two?
Is it something related to food?
Vyapada.
No.
With
No, it's not. The food section we already discussed. That is the root that forms and sustains the body. Okay. This is for the mind now. We are talking. We are coming away from the this bodily form, and now we are going towards the mental state. Okay. So, and this, in order to understand this feeling, we have to understand these hindrances, because hindrances are the root that is making us to be happy or unhappy. Okay. So number one is Kama Chanda, number two is Vyapada, number three is Uddacca Kukkucca, and number four, what is number four? Vichikicca is four. Tina Mitta, okay? Restlessness and drowsiness.
There's five, isn't it?
There's five.
Yeah.
So last one is the Vichikicca. Okay? So number one is sensual pleasure. Number two is, what is the translation? Vyapada?
Anger.
Resentment. Okay? And then number three, Uddacca Kukkucca, sloth and torpor. Okay? And number four, what is number four?
Tina
Mitta.
is
Slope and torpor. Yeah. Tina Mitta is.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah. Tina Mitta is sloth and torpor, and Uddacca Kukkucca is restlessness and drowsy, and then the last one is the Vichikicca. Okay, so these are the five hindrances that hinder.
So what's the translation of the last one?
Oh, this is doubt.
Doubt.
The third one also, I didn't understand.
Third one.
Yeah.
Third one is Tina Mitta. That means a sloth and torpor.
What is that?
Sloth means slow. Laziness. Right? Laziness in practice. Become lazy in various ways. Oh, today I've just eaten, so I will do it later. Or today it's raining, I do not want to do it. Or today it's so sunny, I better go out rather than practicing like that. So that's also these are the five hindrances that hinders. Okay. Now, opposite of that is the attainments. See, and that's why if you have practiced and able to develop the signs or the one particular space that you are working with, that then these five other positive attainments will come. Okay? So that's why in this fourth one, pasang bhayang, in that state we should have attained, if we have developed the sign, that means two positive qualities been already developed. Okay? So that one, the number one is vitakka, number two is vichara. Yeah? So applied thought and sustained thought had been already established. If we have established this, then rest becomes easier. Okay? So that's why the vitakka and the vichara, or this applied thought and sustained thought, is very important, so that our mind is not distracted by all these five hindrances, but developed into that. And in order to do that, again, there are other factors comes as well. And that other factors is called the panchabalas. Yeah? So the five strengths. Right? Five strengths. And that simply comes because our mind is settled in that object, and with that we have cultivated the strong confidence in this practice. So before, we have a confidence because we have heard and we have read, so that this practice of a breathing meditation or practice of a meditation is good for me. So that faith or that confidence is not pure confidence yet. That's the investigative confidence at that time. But as you develop and practiced, it comes to the stage that when your mind is so settled, so calm, undistracted, it's not distracted by anything else, and that moment, then you have full confidence. Oh yes, this is working. So in this state, what happens is again that when we are paying attention to this breath, suppose you are paying attention to the breath in your nose, in that case, what happens? You're able to focus this breath for some times, and then mind simply takes the other objects. So mind, which is also known as a distraction. Okay, so you take the other objects. It could be the sound that is coming. It could be the thought that is arising. It could be the pins and needles in your body as well. So that comes. In that case, as soon as that arises, you are not distracted. So you recognize that. After you have recognized it, you make a peace with that one and then leave and come back. When you come back, again, during this time, this coming back moment, what happens that if you have a desire to push that away, the tension generates in your head. Okay? Tension generates in your head and heart becomes very stiff. Heart is not light and luminous, no. It's become stiff. Okay? So, rather than having any thoughts of a liking or disliking in that, the distraction, we simply recognize that and release, and then able to come back in that sign. See, that's why it's needed the sign. When you have developed that one, the rest becomes easier. So that's why you need a sign. And that you comes back to this object again without putting any effort on. So that's why I normally use the 4 words. Observe, acknowledge, note, and let go. Okay? So observe, acknowledge, note, and let go. And here letting go time is a crucial. So letting go, if that's a negative feeling or unpleasant sensation arises, we tend to push that away. So when we try to push that away, the tension generates in our brain, in our head. The heart becomes tense. In the same time, if that's a pleasant sensation, we want to grab it. We want to keep it. Then again, the tension generates too. Okay? Then heart also becomes again stiff as well at that time. So that's why this letting go is something that we have to work again before coming back to this sign. Okay? So this letting go, if you want to let go, then that's not true letting go. Yeah? Because there is your desire there. And that's what desire, when there is a desire, that means you are occupied by preconcept that you have. Either you want to have it pleasant or unpleasant, want or don't want. Right? So that's this letting go is another stage that we have to develop to understand. Okay? So in this case, you are observing that this is. Okay? And you watch that. Watching it objectively. And when you watch that objectively, our mind normally will not stay in there. Because our mind is always changing. So that's why it's called a sankhara. A sankhara, the sankhara, do you know how many sankharas? How many sankharas? Do you know?
3.
Huh?
3.
You also mentioned 3 last time as well. 3. What are they?
Punyadi Sankara, Punyadi Sankara, Anjabi Sankara.
Chitta Sankara and Mano Sankara. That's the difference.
That's a different. But overall there are 50 sankharas. Okay? 50 sankharas. That's called 50 chetasikas, mental factors. So there are 52 chetasikas, mental factors. The number 1 is the feeling, number 2 is the perception or the sanya, and then the rest is sankhara, 50 times, a good and a bad. So I'm not going to go detail on that one. Okay, you can go and find out what are they. But in a summary, as Vinny mentioned, there are 3. So there are 3. So that's why when we are translating, when we are doing the morning chanting, we are translating the sankhara as the rather than is. The Vedana is, so feeling is, perception is, but sankhara
Okay.
That's the reason.
So,
So there are so many. And that's sankhara, that's why good and bad. There's both sides are there. So this, where I am now, where it is coming from here. So this is simpler because we able to understand that, and then we able to let it be without having any creation, without having any wanting or a desire on the distraction. So that's why in the practice of insight vipassana meditation there is no distraction, because distraction itself becomes the object of meditation. When it becomes the object of meditation, everything becomes the object of awareness. Okay? And that's why the moment when you recognize, then that's done. Suppose you have a doubt. Right? You look for the solution. You look for the solution because you have some preconcept of that must be the solution, the answer. And that may not be correct for you, but it makes sense to you, and that's why you feel that your doubt is eradicated. Actually, is that the doubt purely or correctly eradicated? No, that's just another perception. That's not the true doubt yet. Whereas in the practice of insight meditation, what we're doing, I am having this doubt. Ability to recognize that doubt itself is the ending of there. Ends everything. That very moment of a recognition. And that inability to recognize that doubt, actually that's called ignorance, is the cause of a desire that you want to know something. So you're looking for appetite. Satisfy your desire. Looking for solution, looking for knowledge. So that itself becomes not the true eradication of the doubt, but that's only in a certain level. But in a practice of vipassana meditation, once we recognize that doubt itself as I am having this doubt, that ends. And that is the end of actually Four Noble Truths there happens. So that's why the recognizing this distraction as it is, and that moment when we recognize it, letting go happens on its own way. So that's the natural letting go. There is no desire at all. No desire to want and no desire to keep it. So at that moment, that's why mind needed a sign to be somewhere neutral. Otherwise, what happens after we recognize that, mind will go find something else, because mind will not be staying alone. It needs something to have some all the time. That's called the mental factors. That's the cetasikas, right? So always need that mental factors. So that's why once you have that signed, confirmed, and the mind simply comes back there. So this process, what happens now? Early on, you had this confidence or belief that this meditation helps. Now it confirms now, strongly confirms. Okay? And this is not from knowledge that you read, knowledge that you get from the reading or listening the talk, but this is from experience, your experience teaching you that this confirms, this works. And this is how it becomes the experiential knowledge. It's called a bhavana me panya in one state. Okay? When we have these two, so we have this confirmed confidence or faith in the saddha, in the practice, and then you can see that completely, and you have this wisdom. Okay, what happens now? You put more effort on that, right? You put more effort to practice. It is working, now I need to work. You put more effort. And with that putting more effort, what happens? Mind becomes more concentrated. Yeah? Mind will get more power to be in that, the sign. And with that, the mindfulness also gradually becomes stronger and stronger. So when these 5 factors confirmed, then at that time you will feel this rapture and this joy. Wow, what a wonderful meditation this is. What a wonderful this meditation. And here, that's why it comes to the 2 stages. There's a rapture and a sukha, the happiness. They both is coming like a hand in hand. Both like a coming. Happiness follows, but this similar feeling of this happiness. There's another simile I can think of. Suppose we are driving down to Birmingham or Manchester or London. After you have driven for maybe 2 hours, you want to have a rest. And you look for the sign of a break, right? Service. What happens when you can't see the service yet? You desperately need for the rest, but you can't find the service yet. What happens? What happens in your mind? Restlessness. Right?
Increased focus to look for the sign.
Look for the sign.
More desperation.
Yeah. Okay. And as soon as you see the sign and says 2 miles ahead, what happens in your mind?
Relax. Happy.
So that's a relaxation. That's called a joy or a rapture. So in the practice of a meditation, there's a breathing meditation, that also similar happens.
What's the difference between like happiness and like rapture and?
That's why I'm coming here.
Oh,
coming
sorry.
here. Yeah. So you saw the sign saying the service in 2 miles. So you have this joy. In 2 miles away there is this service. Okay? So you have joy now. Doesn't matter how painful you're having. Let's suppose you needed a desperate toilet. Before you see this sign, it was so terribly difficult, hard to bear. But after you have seen this, what happens? You can bear. So you can laugh, you can talk, you can discuss other subjects. So that is the joy of a seeing, but that's not happiness yet. The moment when you arrived, service, you park the car, went into the toilet and you release, that is the happiness. Okay, so that is the happiness. So that's why this piti or this joy, there are different levels of a joy. different levels of a joy. It's called a kudaka piti, parana piti, okantika piti, upenka piti, and what else? There are 5 types of a pitis. Kudaka piti, which is like, which I think you may have experienced in your practice as well. Now, although you haven't developed the sign, because you've been practicing breathing meditation, at least sometimes you're practicing and you feel so light. So light and so joy. And then sometimes you feel like whole body becomes so wonderful. So that's called kudaka piti, which means a minor joy. Minor joy. That's the momentary. And then the second one is the momentary. Like that. So these types of little experiences you can experience. So and now, if you have developed the sign and you've been working with that, there's so many possibilities that you will experience the joy. The joy of, like I think you may have experienced as well. Have you ever noticed that when you're meditating and something is crawling in your face? Have you? So that's also kind of a joy actually. Because of mind settled on the object. And there is no distraction. This whole 5 hindrances subsides there. Kind of a suppressed. So that's also there. And then sometimes you feel like your this what's called goosebumps, rising goosebumps, simply because your mind is so calm and settled. And that's also possible too. And then, now if you have developed the sign and are working with that sign, at that time again, there are possibilities that you can make yourself big and small. You can see different other signs as well. Unfortunately, we have to stop here. Maybe next time we'll focus on only PT, the 5 PTs. And then after that, then we'll come to this number 5 and 6. Okay. But once we understand this PT, actually this 6 also comes in that way as well. But anyway, but this is the PT is like that. That actually it is, as I said early on, in order to form the body and the breath, all other things they are required, basic things. Similarly, this PT is something that feeds the mind. You see now? That's why it's different. Now this PT makes us want to do. It's like when you are, suppose you're working in the office, right? You get a job. Will you work if you are not paid? You don't. But because you know that you have a payday. And then once you are paid, you feel that joy, that happiness. So that is required. That's why in order to make us happy and life goes into very happiness, this PT is required. That's why this is actually a maker of this mind. That's why later on comes why the Chitta Sankhara starts there. Okay, so this is the feeling, okay, on the PT, and I haven't again focused on feeling itself yet. I'm just going into the PT at the moment, and I believe that you will go back and develop this sign so that you can understand even much greater this part of the feeling.
You can't have 2 sides, right? It just has to be one.
Sorry?
It has to be one sign.
One sign, yes, one sign. In order to gain further,
Mm-hmm.
according to this Anapanasati, you have to develop one sign.
Can you change during like say main like nose and tummy? Can you change in between? No. You have to have.
You have to have one, because we are going through this the samatha way.
Mm.
Yeah. Sorry.
So is that mean that because you get practice to concentrate on that one particular point, that's why it's so. So if you won't change, then you have to maybe rethink about it, I guess. So,
Yeah, it confuses.
yeah.
It confuses. But once you become skilled,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. I remember.
When you give more option to mind, it will always make you confused.
Uh-huh. I remember, I think I mentioned this as well, in 2019, after I've been practicing with this rising, falling of abdomen for a sort of long time, I went to practice this Buddho, right? So reciting the word Buddho, and continuously practicing for 4 months. When I came back here, I was a little bit confused. So that's why I had to go back again for whole 1 month's retreat, simply to gain comfortable in my heart, like that. And then, frankly speaking, I have studied this, but I wasn't confident on this Anapanasati for a long, long time. And actually, from now on, the subject that I always avoid, one of the subjects that I avoid to talk is this. Now we have to talk. So that's also my challenge as well. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But there are certain topics that I try to avoid for a long, long time, like karma, rebirth, nibbana, and then this is jhanas. So I will try my best. I may not be right, but it's my own understanding and practice that I have understood. Okay, so I leave it here. I will come back to the next time. Right. Before we practice loving kindness, anything? Anybody? In that case, sitting comfortably and practice loving kindness meditation. So sitting comfortably and settling down yourself. We'll spend a few moments on the breath. And reflecting a few moments on tonight's discussion. Now we'll practice loving kindness meditation. So bring your attention to your body. Feel the sensation in your body. And bring that attention to your heart. Feel the beating heart. Or physically smiling to feel the connection with your heart. And as you feel the connection with your heart, generating loving kindness and compassion to yourself. Allowing yourself to be happy, free from suffering and release. Or mentally reciting along with the feeling. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be at peace. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering, free from troubles of a body and mind. May I be liberated, liberated. Similarly, sharing loving kindness and compassion to all other sentient beings, starting from near dear one, or any particular person that they need it to bring into your mind, and sharing these loving thoughts. And expanding it to the entire beings in the universe, starting from the dear one in this room, in the city, on earth, in the universe, whatever beings there are. May they be well, may they be happy, may they be free from suffering, may they be free from hatred, ill will, animosities. May they be liberated, liberated. May all beings be happy. Now bring your attention back to your body. Feel the sensations in your body and to your eyes. Creating intention to open your eyes and come out from the practice as you hear the gong and reflect for a few moments. Let's be respectful. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Sawakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Subhadipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay. Thank you.